Hey, everybody. Welcome back to CF's Heroes of Sport. My name is Bob Babbitt, co-founder of Challenge Athletes Foundation. Every week we get to spend some quality time with one of our amazing Challenge athletes. This week is no different. We're going to chat with Emily Dobay, who is a hand amputee and runner, hopefully triathlete moving forward. How you doing, Emily?
I'm doing great. How are you, Bob?
I am spectacular. So, Emily, where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in the Midwest, born and raised South Bend, Indiana. Grew up there my entire life, went to school there and moved out here to Denver, Colorado about 3 years ago now. So
as a congenital hand amputee, basically this was your reality right from the beginning. So I'm assuming your parents were like, listen, this is the way it is. Sport, you're the same as everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah, growing up, my parents were more than supportive, right, with putting me through all sorts of able-bodied sports, right? You name it, I tried it. More specifically, I grew up playing soccer, got into lacrosse, and recently, since moving out here, got into skiing. So,
any limitations did you find?
My difference really came into play when it came to lacrosse, right? Growing up, I never really felt I lacked the drive or perseverance when it came to playing sports. I think that came from a tremendous support system growing up. However, when I came to playing lacrosse, right, that's a sport that you use constantly your two hands. And, I definitely feel like when that came into fruition, my hand definitely had some limitations there, right? But, I continuously looked at my skills. With that being said, as maybe a little bit of a setback, kind of constantly comparing myself to others, especially those who could pick up those skills way easier than me. But definitely, always put my best foot forward when it came to trying to figure something out.
And when did you find running?
Running came into the picture, gosh, honestly, just the last couple years, when the gym shut down because of COVID, or, when I was working from home, I had to find something to, just keep myself sane, and picked up running then, just like I said, the last couple of years, and have fallen in love with it. So
2018. Now, when did you do the Bank of America Chicago Marathon? Was that 2018?
No, so I did Bank of America Chicago Marathon last year. So that was my first marathon last October.
Wow. So you trained during COVID time.
Trained during COVID times, and picked that up. And trained for it solo just while the gyms were shut down outside here. Got into it and absolutely loved it. The second you could sign up, I decided to sign up again. So I'm doing it again this October.
And when did you connect with CAF?
So I connected with CAF, gosh, honestly, just within the last year, right? I, was trained for this marathon all by myself. And I'm like, okay, there's got to be a community out there, right? So actually through a couple individuals that I've met through outside organizations that are actually equally involved in CAF, really introduced me to the organization. So after finishing that, I didn't want to train alone anymore. So now I've reached out to you guys.
You get a grant?
So I got a grant here just this past, within the last month, right? So I'm really thrilled about that. Definitely looking forward to, the year to come in sport with your guys' support.
Cool. And you're an account manager at Oracle.
That's correct. So I've been at Oracle for about a year and a half now.
And Oracle is connecting with CAF?
Yeah, so actually just as of recently, Ryan and then Nat Gives Back reached out to me, right, in response to my CAF grant. And basically they're partnered with you guys right now. So hopefully a lot more involvement there through not only obviously my grant with you guys as an athlete, but also, in my workspace as well.
So with the marathon, what was your first time when you ran it last year? What type of time did you run?
Oh, goodness. I finished. I think I was around the 4.5 hour mark.
Wow.
It's not too bad. The Chicago Marathon's in October. So, and it's obviously in Chicago, windy city, right? I was hoping for some really nice fall weather. No, this last October, it was like, gosh, I think 80 some degrees and humid. So I wasn't prepped for that, but I was thrilled to have just done one, right? Put that behind me and finished. So hoping for a better time this year, but I was happy with it.
Love it. And I read that you were thinking about maybe jumping into triathlon a little bit.
Yeah. So what really sparks my interest first and foremost is not only just the challenge, but my sister. My sister's a huge role model of mine. She's been heavily involved in sports all through growing up. We're just 2 years apart. So I've always kind of followed in her footsteps, but she's really gotten into triathlon the last, gosh, probably let's say 2 or 3 years. And so, oh my gosh, no event like that, just as a spectator or supporter. And I'm like, I want to be out there. Right. So she's really inspired me. And actually she just completed her third full Ironman just this past weekend. So in Texas. And so I'm like, all right, so that's my long-term goal and where my head's kind of focused at moving forward.
It was funny because we were chatting beforehand, and I was just mentioning that Chris Hammer, it was also a hand amputee. He ended up just becoming the first challenge athlete to become a pro triathlete, which is really sort of that changes the world, right? All of a sudden, you've got a challenge athlete who's racing against the very best in the world. That's a cool goal. What are your goals? And have you found any limitations in terms of adapting the bike and swimming and dealing with that?
Definitely. So, I've really just found my niche in running so far right now, right? And no limitations necessarily there. Now, I think that's where my challenge will lie moving forward in my endeavors to be in triathlons is probably the bike and the swim. I don't see myself as a tremendous swimmer. And I just think that comes not necessarily from my limitations with my hand, but just growing up, I've never really swam that much. But yeah, I definitely feel as though those will be some means of finding some adaptations. That way I can obviously fulfill that goal. But something I'm really looking forward to figuring out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun too, because you'll find different, just watching Chris, because he was doing more of the ITU races where they used little extended handlebars. But when you're doing the non-drafting, you have longer bars, which means you can adapt it more for your hand.
Right.
Figure out how to, so it doesn't limit you at all. His bike rides is as good as anybody else's. So it's pretty fun because equipment can play a role.
I know, no, definitely. And that's just from what you just explained right there, just in the sense of the gear switching and figuring out, what my best way of being able to really utilize that bike to the fullest will be exciting. So I'm excited. I'll have to hit Chris up.
Absolutely. I'm going to connect you and Chris, because I think Chris will
definitely
love this, because that'd be great. And so the goal, you'll be running Chicago Marathon then in October. So now you're in the midst of training.
Yep. So I'll be running that in October, and technically training won't start here for a couple more months for me. But right now I'm still kind of steadily, picking it up, training for hopefully a half marathon or two in June before I start picking up that training for the actual marathon. So far so good. We have the elevation and altitude out here in Colorado. So that hopefully will play a role in helping me with my training more so this year.
So in terms of your training, besides running, are you in the gym? Are you what other type of stretching, flexibility? What else are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm throwing some strength training in there as well. Actually, something cool that I have is, for lack of better words, it's like a hook, right? So if I get sick of running and I want to, involve some sort of strength workouts, I actually have this. Just should have brought it with me. It's a hook that straps on to my arm right here, right? That it involves then 2 hooks to help lift. So I really have that in the gym with me when it comes to lifting weights and using any sort of cardio machines that involve my 2 hands. And so that's been great. And, I recently found that probably the last couple of years as well. Before I never lifted weights, right? Because I never felt like I could. So I really incorporate that. And my goal is too, with the summer months coming up, is to get out to the pool. Where I live, they have a little lap pool out here. So that'll be my next goal.
Look at you, swimming, riding the bike, weightlifting, all that.
I'm trying.
Now, and so your sister has done 2 fulls, you said?
So my sister, she just completed her third full, at Ironman Texas this past weekend. And then she's done a couple 70.3s. So not only is my goal to get to a 70.3, but goal would probably be to do one alongside her, right? So I'm excited.
So is there a lot of competition between the 2 of you, or is it more of a, hey, we just want to support each other?
Hey, there's probably some subtle silent competition there regardless, but at least for me, right? I wouldn't tell her that, but now if she sees this video, she'll know. But no, definitely huge support system. Like I said, right? I can't give enough credit to my family for really pushing me to, go beyond personal limits and get involved in sport and organizations like CAF, right? As I've gotten older. So I appreciate everything that she's supported me in, and vice versa.
So if you were going to give a message, somebody's watching this who's thinking that they can't do something, what's your message to them?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, do it, right? I mean, you don't know until you try. I mean, and I think just setting yourself up to find those communities, find your niche, and just put your best foot forward in anything you want to do. I mean, sky's the limit, right? I mean, just just put your best foot forward every day. And I think anything's possible.
Anything is possible. I love it. I can't wait to see you do your first triathlon. That's going to be really fun.
No, I appreciate you. And and I'm looking forward to it all the same and filling you guys in and having you guys support every step of the way.
Might have to have you come out for our San Diego Triathlon challenge in October. That's how we started CAF, was at our first that first triathlon we did, and that comes up October, I think it's 23rd, 24th weekend. If it's not Chicago Marathon weekend, you might need to join us.
I was just about to say that's right after, so I'll be well and ready to go, right? I actually was just looking, at all the events coming up for CAF. So actually I saw that one and all your running and mobility clinics and different things you guys have this coming year. I'm thrilled about. So I'll definitely make a point to try and get out there in October. I'd love that.
Emily, thank you so much for taking time. It's wonderful to have you part of the CAF family. You're going to do great stuff.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And I look forward to plenty of involvement in years to come.
Emily Dobay has been our guest again, CAF's Heroes of Sport. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. See ya.